This story, it's a real honor to read this story. By the way, the first time I read it, I was at home and my grandpa emailed it to me, and you get kind of teary-eyed just reading about this because I think the sacrifices that this generation has made are, you can't really. I don't think our generation can really even fathom.
Move the mic up, honey.
Can even fathom the sacrifices made. So the name of this story is a bloody day over Vienna, and you'll see where the name comes from towards the end of the story. So this is from my grandpa's kind of perspective. I flew 28 B-24 Liberator combat missions over Europe during World War II. My seventh mission is one I will always remember. Prior to my story, I must identify some important data of the 464th Bomb Group, 55th Wing, and 15th Air Force. We were based at Pannella Airfield in southern Italy. During a maximum effort mission, our group could launch 48 bombers. Each of our 4 bomb squadrons provided 12 crewed aircraft. The normal squadron formation was a 6-aircraft element. The lead aircraft had an aircraft flying off of his left wing and his right wing, and the other 3 aircraft trailed directly behind the lead aircraft. The B-24 was equipped with 10 50 caliber machine guns. 2 synchronized guns were installed in the nose, the upper, lower bow, and tail turrets, and 1 single 50 caliber gun was mounted in each of the 2 aft fuselage waist windows. The flight engineer operated the upper turret, and the radio operator manned one of the waist window guns. You can only imagine the firepower generated from a tight formation of 48 Liberators against a German fighter's attack. Each B-24 aircraft was manned by 10 individuals, and my crew for this particular mission was myself, my grandpa, as the pilot, Arnold Klimpel as the co-pilot, George Stockinger was the navigator, Ellis Lurie, bombardier, Robert Heminger was the flight engineer, Charles Brockman, radio operator, Olin Mullinex, nose turret gunner, Arvin Richardson, tail turret gunner, James Henry, ball turret gunner, and Hubert Gallagher as waist gunner. The aircraft was powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney R-1830 turbocharged air-cooled radio engines. The 3,600-gallon wing installed fuel tanks. 3,600-gallon fuel tanks were self-sealing. Since the B-24 was not pressurized, the crew wore oxygen masks when flying above 10,000 feet. Our normal bombing altitude was between 20 and 24,000 feet. Our aircraft identified themselves as by squadron letter call signs. The 778th Bomber Squadron aircraft was White Victor. The 464th Bomb Group insignia was painted on the outer vertical tail assembly. The squadron's colored large capital letter insignia was painted on each side of the aft fuselage. The 776th squadron color was red, the 777th was yellow, the 778th was white, and the 779th was black. My call sign, White Victor, identified my B-24 as a 778 squadron aircraft. For military security, we never used the aircraft serial number in any radio communications. Now, I can begin my story regarding bombing mission on October 17, 1944. During the early morning briefing, our bomb group commander, Colonel Schroeder, announced our target as Vienna. Most of us uttered, "Ah, shit." Vienna targets were defended by 196 artillery flak weapons and 50 fighter aircraft. This would be no, quote, milk run. The weather briefing added potential flight problems en route and cloudy conditions over the target. After the briefing, Colonel Schroeder stated, "We would get to the target come hell or high water." From the briefing, we were trucked to the personal equipment supply. We were issued our parachutes, escape kits, flak helmets, and chest protectors. Our mummy-type pilot seats were made of steel, which protected our back areas. The flak vests and the helmets protected our chest and head areas. Colonel Schroeder's lead aircraft took off at 8:15 in the morning. 30 more of our aircraft followed in 30-second intervals. The weather started to turn bad during our en route climb over the Adriatic. 5 of our aircraft aborted the mission after losing formation contact due to cloud conditions. Formation climbing through an overcast on flight instruments was an extremely dangerous maneuver. In brief, during this maneuver, the lead aircraft flew straight ahead. The right wing pilot turned 10 degrees right, and the left wing pilot turned 10 degrees left while climbing through the overcast. Upon reaching visual flight conditions, the aircraft regrouped back to a tight formation. The bomb group ran into deteriorating weather. Prior to arriving at our initial point, IP, where the bomb run starts, this forces Colonel Schroeder to descend from our brief 23,000-foot bombing altitude to 21,000 feet. This caused us to miss our briefed IP and resulted in a much longer flak exposure over the target. At this time, our group size was down to 23 aircraft. For clarity, at the IP, the bombardier of the lead aircraft, using the Norton bomb sight, controls the autopilot, which steers the formation, compensating for wind drift until bombs away. The pilot closely controls the airspeed and the altitude. Immediately after bombs away, Colonel Schroeder takes control of the formation as we exit the target area. Now, my story focuses on what happened to my crew. I was checking out a new squadron pilot, Arnie Klimpel, who was flying in the co-pilot seat. Generally, a newly assigned pilot flew his first mission with the squadron's operation officer, and his second with a more experienced squadron pilot. After the second mission, he starts flying as a pilot with his regular crew. The intense flak started at the IP, the initial point, and continued for at least 17 minutes. The flak was so thick, it appeared as a huge black cloud. My nose turret gunner, Owen Mullinix's view of the intensive flak explosions had to be the most frightening experience imaginable. The accuracy of the flak batteries increased dramatically once their radar locked us in to 21,000 feet. During the bomb run, there is little that crews can do except hang on and pray.